Hey guys, just wanted to say that Mysteries of Dysteria now officially has its own t-shirt line. You can get the whole crew. We have Blank, Ricky, Thorin, and Cozy, all with their own special designs. You can get them in 3 different colors, multiple different sizes. All of that is on my Etsy shop, which is in the link in the description down below. Yeah, hope to see you. Hello everybody, it's your pal Gouche here, and welcome to another traditional speed paint video. Last one I did of these was for my watercolor painting video, where I went over the process of making a watercolor painting and some of the techniques I use. But this one is going to be slightly different because I'm going to be talking through some footage of me trying out gouache paint for the very first time. Now, this painting is from a little bit ago. So since this painting, I have been playing around with gouache more, so I'm more familiar with it. But this is my first ever time using gouache. The set I'm using is the E.V.A gouache paint set, which are really cool. They're like the jelly paint gouaches that come in the little cups. You've seen them before on the YouTubes. And yeah, I've always wanted to try these out because they are very similar to watercolor. And watercolor is one of my preferred traditional art mediums. The thing is with watercolor though, it's very transparent. That's kind of the nature of watercolor. You can make it a bit more opaque, but you can't layer with it super well. Like you can't do light or you can't do light on dark. You can only do dark on light, like the little highlights first and then shadows, and then you have to build up the colors as you paint. But with gouache, it's a little easier to control since it's more opaque and stuff. Yeah, so for this first ever painting, I thought after swatching the colors, which I noticed were a lot of like nice warm tones, some nice pinks and purples, I decided to paint my character Paralysis, who is my little monster character. I have a video talking about them if you want to know more about them. I'm not going to talk about them all that much because this is about the painting, not about my character. But yeah, immediately as soon as I started painting this, I was already having a really fun time painting this. It was very fun. It was very watercolor-like, and when I was trying it out, I was like going in with like more of a watercolor technique than full-on gouache. But as I continue, I kept experimenting with the opacity of the gouache paints, and something really interesting was when I was painting down the yellows here, as you can see, it was too yellow because Paralysis has it's like a salmony pink blondish thing going on with their secondary color, and I realized that I had painted the yellows too yellow, or I had mixed the paint to be too yellow. But I was able to fix that really easily by just layering over the correct color over the yellow, and I was really blown away by that because that's something you can't really do with watercolor because the paint would just mix all together. But yeah, it was really cool that I was able to easily fix that by just painting over with a different color, and that's another. It's everyone compares, like, says gouache is the mix of both watercolor and acrylic, and I definitely can see why. It definitely has like a lot of acrylic aspects, but not all the stuff about acrylic that I tend to find annoying, like how it dries too fast. It can be really hard to blend, and it's not the best for me. I tend to like to use acrylic for crafting stuff, not necessarily painting portraits. But here I was able to kind of use, like, gouache has a lot of the aspects of acrylic paint that are really cool and that are a bit better than watercolor. So yeah, that's really fun. Something that I did do, and this is something that I honestly do struggle with painting in general, was I think I might have mixed too much paint. Like I used too much paint to get other colors in this. But that's something I also do with watercolor painting, so that's nothing new with gouache at all. That's just something that I have to get better at not overestimating how much paint I'll need in a given piece. But the cool thing about gouache is, just like watercolor, you can reactivate it using some water, and you can reuse it for other paintings. So I think I remember reusing some of the colors that I had mixed for this painting and other stuff as well. And yeah, something that I also really love is how vibrant the colors are. Because with watercolor, I have a couple of watercolor sets, and I do have some really nice colors. None of them are particularly vibrant though, but that's okay. I find that when I'm painting with watercolor, it's kind of more of like a pastel, desaturated, muted effect, which can be really nice. But with here, and you'll especially see that once I add in some pinks into it later, that it is super vibrant, and it creates such a nice effect. And even with the shading here, like you saw when I was shading the skin, it creates almost like a cell shaded effect before you blend it in. And I find that super cool that the paint could just be so pastel and vibrant. Well, not pastel. Watercolor is more pastel. This is more saturated, vibrant ness. And if you've seen my digital pieces, you know I tend to lean more towards more saturated colors. So it was really cool to have that same thing with traditional art, which I haven't really had before, other than like with markers. But even with markers, it's not the most. It's not. I feel like a lot of markers I've used aren't as saturated as these paints are. And yeah, I had a really fun time painting this. It was really cool. I believe at the time I was watching the first episode of the Percy Jackson live action show. Which, if you don't know, hi, I'm a Percy Jackson fan. I love the books. I've been re-listening to them recently. And I will say, because I'm recording this after the show's all finished. It's been finished for like a few months now. It's it wasn't the best. I didn't really like the show that much. It was just okay. It wasn't anything special. Oh, I lost some footage in the painting, but it was boring, to be honest. Way too much exposition. Way too much. You can see me mixing some paint here. But yeah, just way too much exposition. It didn't need to be that much, and the progression and stuff. There were many flaws. It had some cool stuff too. It was just not my cup of tea is all. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm also an Avatar fan, and I'm trying to watch the live action show, but that show has the exact same problem. I'm not like super disappointed by it or anything, because I very much expected that to happen. My expectations for that show were very low. Because why are we still trying to adapt Avatar in a live action? It just doesn't work. Anyway, back to the painting. As you saw, I painted the hair in with a very light pink first. Like, I had the color be pretty diluted with water, and then I go in with just the straight up paint. After using gouache paint for a while, that is something I want to get better at, is to not be afraid to just go in with the paint and just cover it with the just opaque paint. I think I always am a bit concerned doing that, because I was using watercolor for such a long time that it's just something I'm not used to, and I'm afraid of messing up if I like go into opaque or anything and I can't see my sketch. But then I see other artists online doing that technique of just going in with the paint and not diluting it at first or anything, and it looks great, and it has such a cool effect, and I want to do that too, but it's hard. It's just something I have to get better at with practice, and like something I need to like. It's like, hey, this isn't watercolor. You can go much more opaque with gouache and stuff. So yeah. And yeah, I really love how the hair turned out, even though I had the hair color wrong at first, because I was able to fix it and then go over it with such this beautifully saturated pink. It was really fun to have the hair sort of come into its own. I also have to apologize for the lighting, first of all. At the time of recording this, I was recording this in our our big table, and the light that is over it is very orange, so the colors aren't super accurate. And I also was recording this with my phone, so I had to makeshift like a little stand. So that's what you're kind of seeing in the corner is like some DVD sets, I think a book, and then like a can, I think that's, or a little vase thing that I have filled with rocks. Um, yeah, I had to makeshift a little stand for my phone in order to record. Since then, I have better recording equipment, and we have better lights now for drawing and recording. So yeah, future artworks or traditional speed paint videos of mine should be a lot better. It should look a little better and stuff. I will say I do think this does look better quality wise than my watercolor painting video. That one was a bit of a mess to record, but it was fun to do. So yeah. Now I am adding in some more pinks to the shadows on the skin because I thought it didn't make much sense that the hair had so much pink in it and then the skin just didn't. So you can see me doing that here. And yeah, I have a lot more gouache paintings that I've done since this one. And something that I've been doing a lot of, which I really like doing, is combining watercolor and gouache so that I can still, do watercolor painting like I really love, but also incorporate more saturated colors and opaqueness that I get with gouache. So yeah, I have another traditional speed paint video where I do that, that I will post soon, hopefully. So yeah, you could stick around for that. And then later on, since I had a lot of the pinks left over, you can see that I did it with the yellows and the blues that I made, that I added in some to the effects around them. But I'm also going to add some more pink in the background, which I really like that I did because I think it like tied the whole thing together. One thing about gouache that I will say is that it is a bit hard to add the highlights because I think it's specifically the white that I have in this set is a bit more like a light gray, and it doesn't really pop up as much on top of the other colors. But it's not super bad. It's definitely a lot better than if I was to do this with watercolor, so I don't have too much to complain about. And that's about all I have to say. Unfortunately, I did lose the footage of me finishing up the painting by adding in more of the background and doing the line work. I believe this was because I lost the footage on my phone and I had ran out of storage, so I don't even think I was able to record the majority of it, and then I wasn't able to upload it onto YouTube in order to download it onto my computer. So yeah, that is it for this video. Again, sorry I couldn't record the final touch-ups of it, but I will say this was also my first time doing line art with gouache, and it was really nice. Like I said, since it was a lot more opaque, it was a lot easier to do. I do have to be careful with like not just laying it on super thick because then it creates this like texture that I don't really want when I'm doing the line art. And yeah, I had a really fun time painting the background just using some of the colors that I already had made. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, and you will definitely be seeing a lot more gouache traditional speed paint videos in the future along with some of my other stuff. Speaking of which, if you also like digital speed paints, you can subscribe for more of that. I have an Instagram down below where you can see all my artworks. I have my comics on Webtoon and my physical release of Lost Hearts on Etsy. And yeah, I also have other stuff on Etsy. I have my shirts that you can get for Mysteries of Dysteria. And that is all. I will see you all in the next video. Bye!